Hello, and welcome to the Military and Aerospace Electronics Report. I'm John Keller. Well, the DOD budget request for next year is out, and the news really isn't as bad as we might have thought, what with pressure to cut federal spending coming from all directions, and an administration that doesn't have a reputation as being very military-friendly. Now, the Pentagon is asking Congress for $670.9 billion in fiscal 2012. Now, this is a 37% cut from what the Defense Department asked for last year, and it's perhaps our first solid indication that military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan are starting to wind down. Now, this latest DOD request for 2012 proposes $553.1 billion for normal Pentagon operations, which some people call the base budget. Now, this is a 4.2% increase from the request last year. Then there's $117.8 billion for military operations overseas. Now, this represents a 41.5% decrease from 2012. It's the overseas military operations that are having these big cuts. Now, the folks watching the aerospace and defense electronics industry, like us, we consider two parts of the Pentagon budget to be the most important, because that's where our money is. The procurement budget, which is for buying new things like planes, ships, and tanks, and the research, development, test, and evaluation budget. This develops the advanced technologies that go into these big military systems. So, for us, the 2012 DOD budget calls for $113 billion for procurement. Now, that's up from the 2012 request of $104.8 billion. That's good news, because there's a lot of electronics, more so all the time, in fact, in that procurement budget. Now, in RDT&E, there's $75.3 billion. This is for research and development, where we develop the electronics and electro-optics for the things we're procuring. Now, that's a cut from the 2011 request of $80.4 billion, and that bothers me. This is the second year that the military R&D budget is taking a hit. And with all the military operations we've been fighting over the past decade, it seems high time to start refilling that technology pipeline. Now, with these big cuts in defense spending for overseas military operations, it seems to me that the Pentagon could free up some money for other things, like maybe research and development. DOD officials, they're going to regret neglecting the R&D budget, I think. Systems developers, at least those I'm talking to, they're hungry for new technologies that they can put into platforms, tanks, ships, surveillance and reconnaissance and the like. And cutting the RDT&E budget, this is going to frustrate a lot of those people. On another note, the 2012 Pentagon budget has big good news for unmanned aerial vehicles, a particularly hot area. In that, it proposes money for 1,395 UAVs. This is a big jump from last year's request for 459 of these unmanned aircraft. It was a big number last year, more than doubles this year. The budget calls for the Pentagon to buy 3 Global Hawk and Broad Area Maritime Surveillance UAVs, 84 Predator UAVs, and the big winner, 1,308 smaller hand-launched UAVs. So, now we move to hearing season in Congress, where our friends on Capitol Hill will pick apart that DOD budget request, make as much political hay as they can, and emerge by next September with a usable spending plan that will enable our fighting forces to move forward. With this bunch, we'll be lucky if they're done by Christmas. Thanks for watching. I'm John Keller for Military and Aerospace Electronics.